Lord, I shall give these laws unto thy people. Hear me. Oh, hear me. All pay heed. The Lord Jehovah has given unto you these 10 commandments.
God has set before you this day his laws of life.
Yo, what's up, crew? Everybody good? Good to see you guys today, man. I've seen like Jamie's here and Michael was here. He's on our staff team. Josh is in the back. Kristen's leading worship. Candace runs our student ministry or our women's ministry. And it dawned on me, like, who is running the other two campuses right now? Seems like 75% of the staff is here. So don't know how it's going out there, but going good in here, man. Good to see you guys. Everybody joining us online. What's up? Good to see you, even though you're not here. We love you. Easter next week, you need to fill your tank up with gas and get here. You need to buy a plane ticket and get here. You need to get here. We'll see you next week. It's gonna be a fun time. Quick poll: anybody's March Madness bracket? Are you still proud of it? Or okay, all right, here we go. Got some sleepers. My youngest daughter's elementary school. They had to do brackets, and when I was picking her up from school, you know, all the kids are lined up on the bench. Elementary school, and I can overhear them talking about how they pick their brackets. And so, you know, you got the math nerds at the school that are like, it's all a numbers game, right? Just whoever the lower seed number is, they're going to pick and make their bracket out like that. The artistic kids are like, what's the favorite color? Like, which out of these two teams, what color do I like the most? And that's how they're going to pick. And then I heard one little boy, as he was sitting on the bench, my window was down, I overheard him say, well, I like to pick my teams based on the mascot and how cool they are. And so, like, I don't know if your bracket is busted. You might want to do the mascot challenge next year and just do a little research. We are blessed, I guess, in Winston to have some collegiate teams here in town. And so I was doing some research and thought, you know, if we had like a battle of the mascots in Winston, who would win? Who would we pick it? So Wake Forest, obviously, they have the Demon Deacons. They're a Baptist, formerly Baptist, recovering Baptist school. And so, you know, it makes total sense. They're the Demon Deacons. Winston-Salem State, the Rams, that's pretty intimidating. They're red. And fun fact, Salem College doesn't have a mascot. Like, I Googled it. I looked it up. Any alumni want to correct me, like, let me know. Could not find it. Do not have a mascot. So, but it really wouldn't matter because I think I found the best local mascot. If you're familiar with the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, their mascot is the Fighting Pickle. I wish I could tell you that was made up. But there it is. Nothing strikes fear in the heart of an opponent like a pickle with a skirt on. Oh, man. You know, usually mascots are intimidating, right? If you're going to have a mascot, it better have sharp teeth, okay? It better have, like, the eyebrows better be pointed in the middle because that's like the mean look. And if you do see their teeth, not only do they have to be sharp, but they better not be smiling. There better be like clenching their teeth. There's like a mean look on their face. You need that. Mascots can either fire people up. Like when you see your mascot, it should like fire you up. And then it should strike fear in the hearts of the opponents. It should be an intimidating thing for your mascot to roll out. If you've ever been to a Wake Forest game, the Demon Deacon rides out on a motorcycle. I have no idea what that has to do with anything, but it's loud. And so there's that. I guess that can be an intimidating thing. If you had to figure out what the mascot for Easter was, I guess you'd probably say the Easter bunny or that real bunny that lays the Cadbury eggs this time of year. Actually, if you go back in the Bible, there is a mascot for Easter, and we meet him on Palm Sunday. There's an official animal for the Easter season, and we actually are introduced to this animal in one of the days of the life of Jesus. This is the most significant event that happens in his life. It happens on Palm Sunday. This is the Sunday before Easter, and the animal that, like the mascot that Jesus uses in this incredible story, The mascot of Easter is the donkey. And so just trying to put this through the lens of intimidating mascots, I just began to think about it. Is the donkey mad? Is it intimidating? Is it a crazy donkey? Yeah, all right, crazy donkey. Yep. No, the answer to that is no. None of those things are true. In fact, this is a baby donkey. That's what the Bible tells us. Not a mean donkey, not a donkey with red eyes, or like doesn't even have rabies. It's not even foaming at the mouth. It's just a regular donkey, a baby donkey, and probably the only mascot less intimidating than a baby donkey would be a pickle. So at least we didn't get the pickle. Before we get into Palm Sunday, though, I need to introduce you to the mascot, the official mascot of the Ten Commandments. We're on commandment number 2 today as we go towards Easter. We'll finish up next week. And we meet the mascot. We meet an animal. There's an animal that shows up in Exodus chapter 20. Let me give you the whole backstory. Moses and his right-hand man Joshua are going up to Mount Sinai. You kind of saw it in the video. They go up to the top of this mountain, and God speaks to them, and they get the Ten Commandments. Now, the Bible tells us that there's this big storm cloud at the top of the mountain, and so the Israelites are at the bottom of the mountain. They can't see Moses. All they see is just these storm clouds and thunder and lightning, and they don't know what's going on, but Moses and Joshua are talking to God. And it's during this time that we learn what the second commandment is. In Exodus chapter 20, it says this, you shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above or on the earth beneath or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them. That's the second commandment. You'll have no graven images. You will not have an idol. So back in the day, a common practice for ancient Near East religions was they would have a statue made of their god. It's called an image. They wanted, since they couldn't see their God face to face, they wanted to have something that they could see so that when people saw it, everybody automatically thought of the God that they were worshiping. Whose team are you on? So this image was often made up of a rock or carved out of wood or made out of metal. Now, the image itself, like the metal or the statue, that wasn't the God, but it was a way that they could like relate to God. You know, if you wanted to hug God, you just hug the statue. You could kiss the statue. You could pray to the statue. You could cry on the statue. You could pet the statue. You could see the statue, and it brought people a certain level of comfort when they desired to connect with God. And so that's what they did. And so the Israelites had to be warned against that because they can't see God either. And so God knew there's going to be a time where, man, you're going to be tempted to form some kind of idol out of wood or metal or something so that you can feel like you can see me. And hey, you're going to be different than every other religion in the world. You don't need that. You're going to have a real relationship with God and be able to actually know him. So you can imagine the rules that went into place that God foresaw that. Now, Moses and his sidekick Joshua were up on the top of the mountain for 40 days. So for 40 days, they were talking to God. The storm was swirling around them. The people downstairs at the bottom of the mountain, before they brought the Ten Commandments down, were waiting on him. In Exodus chapter 31, Moses is still on the mountain, like 17 chapters later. It says, when the Lord finished speaking to Moses on Mount Sinai, he gave him 2 tablets of the covenant law, the tablets of stone inscribed by the finger of God. So he finally has these 10 Commandments in his hand. Now, let me give you the story. While they were on top of the mountain for 40 days, Moses looks at his brother Aaron and leaves Aaron in charge. Says, all the people are down here. Joshua and I are going to go up to talk to God. Aaron, here's the deal, man. You got one job. While I'm gone, don't let anything bad happen. Don't do anything crazy. Don't throw a house party. Don't tear anything up. Don't hurt yourself. I'm not even really asking you to make any kind of decisions at all. If you could just, one job, just keep everything together and make sure nothing happens. Now, as a parent, I have 2 daughters. If I were to look at my oldest daughter and say, you are in charge of the house and everything in it, I'm completely comfortable. If I were to look at my youngest daughter and say, you are in charge of the house and everything in it, I would be absolutely terrified. Moses looks at his brother and just like goes down the rules. I can't even imagine the pep talk that Moses would have had to give his brother before he left. Now here, Aaron, check this out. Do not turn on the stove. Do not cook anything. Do not take a bath because you might slip and fall. Last time you took a bath, you forgot to turn the water off and the water went over. Don't cook any popcorn in the microwave. Last time you tried that, you put 20 minutes instead of 2 minutes and the whole house was full of smoke. Do not take your mattress off of your bed and surf down the stairs with it. Do not do that, Aaron. Don't embarrass me. Aaron, you got one job, bro. If I come back to this house and everything's in disarray, I will march you straight back to Pharaoh and sell you back into slavery so fast your head will spin. I just need for you to make sure nothing crazy happens. And he gives him this pep talk. He's gone for 40 days. Look at me, Aaron. Don't let anything bad happen. Exodus chapter 32, before Moses comes back, he says, when the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, he's been gone 40 days, they gathered around Aaron and said, come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what's happened to him. Aaron answered them, take off the gold earrings that your wives, your sons, and your daughters are wearing. Bring them to me. I want the gold. Show me the gold. So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed him and made it into an idol cast in the shape of a calf, fashioning it with a tool. There they said, these are your gods, Israel, who brought you out of Egypt. When Aaron saw this, he built an altar in front of the calf and announced, tomorrow there will be a festival to the Lord. So the next day, the people rose early and sacrificed burnt offerings and presented fellowship offerings. After they sat down to eat and drink and got up to indulge in revelry. Revelry, word of the day, look that up. It is a raucous and lively festival involving large amounts of alcohol. One job, Aaron. One job, bro. Don't throw a house party. Don't set anything on fire. Don't do anything irresponsible. Don't lead the people in the wrong direction. So the people start to bully Aaron. They're like, man, we don't even know. Where is Aaron? Where is Moses? Where's your brother at? I'll tell you where your brother at. He left. He gone. He got us out. He left us here. Aaron, you got to figure out what to do. Like, you're in charge now. Aaron, Moses is not coming back. What are we going to do? So Aaron assumes the leadership mantle. He says, the first thing that we're going to do, my first order of business as the newly appointed leader is we need a mascot. We need somebody that we can call our team. So Aaron gets all of his thoughts together, maybe does a little inner pool, and he decides that the mascot for the people of Israel is going to be a bull, a young bull. From this point forward, we will be known officially as the Israelite Bulls. Now, you might think that's random, like bull. What is that, his favorite team? Like, how did that happen? But once you realize what a bull is, it becomes really clear why he chose that. In the ancient Near East, a bull was a symbol of strength and power. It was intimidating. And you got to think that for a people that had been in slavery for hundreds of years, they finally get their freedom. The next thing they want is power. Hey, I don't want people looking at us and thinking that we're just weak and some pushovers. We need a symbol of our people. We need a God that is powerful. We need a God that's intimidating. We need a God that when people look at us, they get fearful and they run away scared. So the image of this bull would have made all of the enemies of the Israelites afraid. It would have been really intimidating. The people love this. Aaron's soaking it up as the newly appointed leader. They start to party. Now, fast forward back up to the top of the mountain. God, Moses, and Joshua are there. And the Bible tells us that like Moses is there. They're spending time with God. You can imagine what a powerful moment that is. And like Moses smells something. He's like, do you guys smell smoke? It smells like barbecue. He can hear a little bit of music. It sounds like a party down there. Are people yelling? Is that Lil Wayne they're playing? What's up? God picks up and notices it in verse 7. He says, then the Lord said to Moses, go down because your people whom you brought out of Egypt have become corrupt. They've been quick to turn away from what I commanded them and have made themselves an idol cast in the shape of a calf. They have bowed down to it and sacrificed to it and have said, these are your gods, Israel, who brought you out of Egypt. God pulls a power move as a parent right there. I don't know if you caught that, but God looked at Moses and he said, no, these aren't my people. Those are your people. Your kids ever got in trouble and you called your spouse and he was like, you need to come home and talk to your son, okay? Like, this is not my son, this is your son. And you need to go up and you need to give a little attitude adjuster. God's like, these are not my people, Moses, these are your people. They're down at the bottom. You need to handle your business with your people down at the bottom of the mountain. I can't deal with them. It is off the charts down there. Like, do you see what they're doing? The last thing, Aaron, like Moses, like, oh man, you got to be kidding me. Probably embarrassed to be in front of God and having that called out. What's wild is this, though. The very first commandment that the people of Israel break is the second one. It's not do not lie, do not cheat, do not steal. It's do not covet. No, none of those. The very first commandment that they break was they made a golden statue and decided to worship God and to use it, even though Moses had already told them that. Moses runs down the mountain, finds his little brother, Aaron. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? One job. One job, man. Look at this. This is wild. This is crazy, man. What's going on here? Look at Aaron's excuse that he gives in 32, throwing everybody underneath the bus. Do not be angry, my Lord, Aaron answered. You know how prone these people are to evil? They said to me, I didn't want to do it. They said to me, this was their idea. I was like, no, let's wait on Moses. No, he's cool. No, he's smart. No, he's our leader. And they were like, no, let's do this instead. Make us gods who will go before us. And for this fellow Moses who brought us out of Egypt, we don't know what's happened to him. So I told him, nope, we're not doing this. We're going to be responsible adults. Nope, we're not going to turn our backs on God. Nope, we're going to wait patiently. Nope, I got one job and I told Moses I would do it. Not what he said. So I told them, whoever has any gold jewelry, take it off. Then they gave me the gold, and I threw it into the fire, and out popped this calf. Moses saw that the people were running wild and that Aaron had let them go out of control, and so became a laughing stock to the enemies. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I was minding my own business. These people just started throwing gold at me. And so I just held it. I was walking by the fire, tripped, like threw it into the fire. And then the calf just came out. I didn't want to do it. It's not my fault. Man, how many times have we tried that in our life? We make a bad decision and we look at God and be like, not my fault. I wasn't going to do it, but it wasn't my idea, but Aaron trying to argue his way out of it. Moses obviously knew how much of a big deal this was to God, to not only break this commandment, but to break this commandment. And when you fast forward a few verses, you see how Moses responds. Now I'm going to tell you, this is the brother that everybody that had a brother wishes they had, that their brother was like. Because in the face of Aaron losing absolute control and doing the one thing that everyone told him not to do, this is how Moses responded. He says, the next day Moses said to the people, you have committed a great sin, but now I will go up to the Lord. Perhaps I can make atonement for your sin. So Moses went back to the Lord and said, oh, what a great sin these people have committed. They have made themselves gods of gold. Now listen to this. But now, God, please forgive their sin. But if not, then blot me out of the book that you have written. Moses looks at God and says, hey, I know they messed up, but I'll take the blame. God, I know this can't go unpunished, man. This is a really big deal. But instead of taking it out on them, just take it out on me. I'll pay the price. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll take the fall. Moses is my big brother, never did that. I got blamed for everything I did and half the stuff he did. But Moses said, I'll take the fall. I know somebody is going to have to pay for this. God, I'm their leader. It's not my fault, but it's my responsibility. It's one thing that good leaders do, man. They don't care whose fault it is. It's my responsibility to fix it. It's my responsibility. It happened on my watch. And so he looks at God and says, I'll pay the price. Don't punish them. punish me. Now let me connect that mascot with the mascot that we celebrate on Palm Sunday. In John chapter 12, here's the setting. The next day, the great crowd that had come from the festival heard that Jesus was on his way to Jerusalem. They took palm branches and went out to meet him, shouting, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed is the King of Israel." Jesus found a young donkey and sat on it. As it is written, "Do not be afraid, daughter Zion. See, your king is coming, seated on a donkey's colt." At first, his disciples did not understand all of this. Only after Jesus was glorified did they realize that these things had been written about him and that these things had been done to him. Let me make a bridge between these two stories. Three things that here on Palm Sunday for us right here in our context, how we can apply these two stories in our lives. Here's the first decision that I want to ask you to make. It's a decision all of us have to make it in our lives, some of us multiple times. We got to choose between our personal expectations of God and God's plan for our life. Our personal expectations. This is what I want God to do. This is what I want God to be. God, when I pray, you need to answer. God, when I decide to follow you, you need to open up doors. God, when I become a Christian, you need to make my life easier. God, when I have a problem, you need to fix it. Every one of us have personal expectations that we've placed on God. The Israelites realized, hey, I've got some expectations of who God's going to be. I want him to be powerful, and I want him to be a bully. Now that we're on top, I want him to be a bully, and I want him to push everyone else down, and I want us to rise to the top. God, I need for you to be these things for me and in my life. When Jesus rolled into Jerusalem, they wanted him to overthrow the government. Man, these people had the same problems that you and I had. It's problems that we face every day. And they looked at God and said, God, help my conflicts to go away. Make my life easier. Make my life smoother. Make my marriage better and my finances more and my job cool and my relationship strong. God, that's what I need for you to do. They had this image that one day God would come into their life as a bully, as powerful, pushing everybody else around so that we can get from God what we want and our life can be easier. And in the midst of those expectations, Jesus rides in on a baby donkey. And then the Bible has the audacity to say, do not fear, for here comes your king riding on a baby donkey. I don't know, man, but a part of me says, if you've put all your hope in a king that is super powerful and he walks into the room with a baby donkey on a leash, that actually might be the time to be afraid. That might be the panic button time. That might be the indication that you picked the wrong team, that things aren't going to go like you expected it. But just like in Exodus, God had a plan the whole time. He had a plan for Jesus. He had a plan for the donkey. He had a plan for you and for me. But here's what we try to do. We try to put God in a box. We try to make Jesus fit our expectations for our life. You need to do and act certain ways or I'm going to be disappointed. There's a rubric. I'm going to do what I need to do, and then you are going to perform. You're going to do what I need to do. You got to make a decision, man. Is your relationship with God going to be based on your personal expectations of him? Because if so, you don't have a relationship with God. You got a relationship with a golden calf, something that you're just trying to cling to and hold and kiss and cry over and see if you can rub its belly and a genie comes out to grant all your wishes. Or will you realize that God has always had a plan, and in your life today, he has a plan for you? Second thing I want you to write down is this. We got a choice to make. We're either going to follow the bull or we're going to follow the donkey. We're going to follow the bull or the donkey. Jesus rode into the city on a donkey's colt, a baby donkey. Now, all of these people were following Jesus at this point because he had done some wild miracles. Jesus has raised people from the dead. Jesus has healed people that were sick. Jesus took formerly incurable diseases and cured people from that. He restored things that were broken. Jesus is a power player, and they are expecting the same thing for Jesus to step into life now. He's going to roll into Jerusalem, and heads are going to roll. He's going to be a powerful leader, and we're so glad that we're on his team because it's going to be so much better for us. And then Jesus rolls in on a donkey. The donkey was a symbol of humility. The bull is a symbol of power. It's a symbol of authority, but a donkey is a symbol of humility. How do you follow a king that's humble? How did he get fired up about a leader who's known for humility? It confused the people. Like, how is this a good thing? Well, I'll tell you why it needs to be that, because humility is what it would take for a sinless man to pay for a debt that he didn't owe. An arrogant, brash king would never do that. But you talk about a man that's humble and a servant that would come in and look at your life and my life. And instead of a king that just comes in like a bull in a china shop tearing everything up, a humble Savior walks into the mess of your life that's already torn up and says, I'll help you put it back together. I'll help you. If you don't have humility, you can't do that. You're not going to put your life aside for the benefit of others. Jesus couldn't roll in on a horse. It had to be a donkey. It's who he is. It's what would mark him. What kind of Savior do you need right now? A king that's powerful, that's just going to bowl everything over in your life? Or a servant that's going to wrap the towel around his waist so he can put you first, serve you, love you, pay the price that you couldn't pay? It's the difference between the bull and the donkey. People didn't know how to deal with Jesus, man. They'd never encountered a king whose weapon was love. They'd never encountered a man whose power was humility, not as in authority. What are you going to do with a God like that? Because that God is currently riding into Jerusalem. Last thing I want you to wrestle with, and it's really what Easter is all about. You and I, when it comes to the sin in our life, we're going to have to choose. Either you're going to pay it or you're going to accept forgiveness. You're going to pay it or you're going to accept forgiveness. It's wild to me to read that Moses stood in front of God and offered to pay the price for the sins of the people. God, they messed up. I'll pay. God, I didn't have anything to do with it. I was you. You know where we were together. But God, I'll pay the debt. Jesus would turn out to be the greater Moses. Jesus comes to the earth and says, their sin, I'll pay for it. Somebody's got to pay for it, man. We can't just pretend like it didn't happen. Somebody's life is going to be lost for the payment of your sin and mine. So the decision that you and I have to make is either you can pay for it or accept the fact that Jesus pays for it. You can pay for it on your own and be responsible for the debt that you owe God, which will cost you not only your life here, but it will cost you eternity. Or you can look at the greater Moses as Jesus hung on the cross and said, their sin, their life, their pain, their shame is on me now. It's a choice you got to make. What do you do with a God who knows that he is God, but is more humble than you? What do you do with a God who doesn't use his power to force people to worship him, but uses his power to prove to people how much they're loved? What do you do with a God who deserves to be served and bowed down to, but instead came to the earth to be a servant to you and to me? I can tell you what you do. You follow him. You trust him. You put your faith in him, and you allow him to change your life. Come to find out, the mascot of Easter held great significance as Jesus was riding in on that donkey. It was a symbol that it is no longer the bull of power that we see in Exodus, but it is the humble heart of a servant. The humility that it would take for an innocent man to give his life on the cross for you and for me. That is a payment, friends, that I want to take every single time. And I'm thankful for what Jesus has done. We're going to celebrate that next week. Next week, I want you to bring a friend, bring your neighbor, bring your grandma, bring whoever. Spoiler alert, sermon's going to be about Jesus. And I think Jesus can still change some people's lives today. So you might have a neighbor or a friend that is far from God, that next week, God could really do something wild and crazy in their life. So bring somebody with you and remember the God that saved you was the same God that rode into Jerusalem on that donkey that can save your family and friends that are far from him. Let me pray for you. God, thanks for the example of humility. You took on the role of a servant, being willing to offer yourself as a sacrifice for us, not demanding that we do anything except just repent and turn to you. God, there's a lot of hope in that story. God, would you just give us the wisdom to know what to do with the words that we've heard and the courage to move forward in them this morning? Pray and ask those things in your son Jesus' name.